in a knife attack in Taiwan.
I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. But we will do a good job together, I'm sure.
And Sepp Blatter re-elected FIFA president despite corruption crisis.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. Two South Korean women on a Hong Kong-bound plane on Tuesday are now under isolation. They sat close to a South Korean man who was later confirmed to have Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome. The pair raised jitters earlier when they had refused to be placed under quarantine. Meanwhile, the number of MERS cases in South Korea has risen to 13. Joao De Silva reports.
These two South Korean women early refused to join the other 16 people who've been quarantined. All of them sat close to the South Korean man who was later confirmed to have MERS on board a flight from Seoul to Hong Kong on Tuesday. But this afternoon, health authorities came knocking on the door of the two women in Causeway Bay. They were staying at a residential building and were escorted onto a bus by government health workers. They now joined the rest of the group already in quarantine at the Lady Macaulay-Ho's holiday village in Sai Kung. Secretary for Food and Health, Ko In-man, noted that the incubation period of the disease could be more than 10 days. During that time, patients may not show any symptoms but may still infect others. Ko also noted that Hong Kong law allows for placing individuals who pose a health risk in quarantine against their will. Also, the chief executive of the hospital authority, Leung Pak-in, said the focus now is on prevention and control measures. He said that although there have been no MERS cases in Hong Kong so far, frontline medical staff are on high alert and are well trained in case of an outbreak. Meantime, a 30-year-old woman who was earlier suspected of having MERS tested negative for the virus. She had travelled to Dubai earlier this week and rode a camel there. The woman is now in stable condition. Travel agents organising tours to the Middle East have been warned against arranging activities with camels. The Centre for Health Protection says the animals pose a risk of MERS transmission. From the Silva, TVB News.
Beijing officials and pan-democratic lawmakers are gearing up for crucial political reform talks to be held in Shenzhen tomorrow. Today, lawmaker Leung Kwok-hung found out he won't be there. Winna Wong reports.
Chief Secretary for Administration Carrie Lam made a final appeal to lawmakers this morning on the eve of the Shenzhen talks. I hope all legislators can take advantage of tomorrow's opportunity to conduct meaningful conversation with mainland officials, she said. This afternoon, Labour Party Sid Ho confirmed she'd been granted a one-off home return permit so that she can attend the meeting. But Leung Kwok-hung of the League of Social Democrats was denied entry to the mainland. This morning, a number of pan-democratic lawmakers continue to voice their opposition to the government's reform package.
We're telling Hong Kong government and Beijing we do not want them to call the so-called Beijing decreed election plan to be a true universal suffrage in any way. They simply cannot call a deer a horse. They cannot claim black is white and day is night.
This afternoon, other groups such as Hong Kong Indigenous and various students' associations marched from Chater Garden to the Legislative Council. Some began kicking and dismantling metal barriers at LegCo. After protesters left the area, police stood on high alert in front of the metal barriers around LegCo. Winna Wong, TVB News.
Taiwan is in shock over a knife attack that killed an 8-year-old girl. Police say a man snuck into the school she attended and slashed her in the throat. Evelina Leung reports.
The suspect, 29-year-old Kong Chong-an, was brought to the Xiling District Prosecutor's Office for investigation this morning. Authorities said Kong showed no remorse during questioning. They decided to remand him in custody. The man who works as a courier was met by an angry crowd when he was taken to a police station last night following his arrest. The incident that sent shockwaves across Taiwan happened yesterday afternoon at Wenhua Elementary School in the Beitou district. The victim, an 8-year-old girl surnamed Liu, was taking part in extracurricular activities. Police said when she went to the toilet alone, she was followed by Kong, who has sneaked into the school. She was slashed in the throat with a fruit knife. The attack left a 10-centimeter wound on the girl's throat, and she lost a lot of blood. The girl was pronounced dead at hospital this morning. The doctor who had tried to save Liu's life appeared very emotional after announcing the victim's death. The police said the suspect is an alumnus of the school and that he said he had carried out the attack because of the pressure society had put on him. Kong also said he's been hearing voices. Taiwanese media reported that when Kong was arrested, he admitted that he didn't know the victim and that he wanted to become the second Cheng Che, the man found guilty of killing 4 people in a subway stabbing spree last year. Kong's older brother later met the press and apologized for yesterday's attack. Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je has now promised to set up a committee to ensure the safety of school campuses. Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
In an atmosphere befitting any nail-biting football match, Sepp Blatter was elected to a 5th term as FIFA president. The drama involving Blatter and the corruption-plagued organization unfolded overnight in Switzerland. And as Jameson Wong tells us, Blatter is still getting an earful from his critics.
The vote was headed to a second round as Blatter failed to get